welcome back to my channel. I wanted to talk to you about these amber necklaces. So a lot has been said on the internet about amber necklaces and their efficacy or lack thereof, and I just wanted to make a video to clear the air and go over some of the things that you need to know if you're considering adding amber necklaces as part of a parasite management plan for your dog, your cat, and for the whole family. If you're new here, I'm Micol. I'm a pet nutrition specialist and I'm an osteopath and homeopath and mom of Iberia over here, and I have two lady kitties, Britannia and Caledonia. I set up a lovely bed over here, but as you can see, they're cats and they said, not today. Not today, lady. So you will see them a little bit later. We're going to go over what amber necklaces are, how they work and whether they're effective, how to choose them for you, your dogs, your cats, and your human family as well, how to maintain them, and finally, whether they're sustainable or not on our environment. Amber necklaces are made of amber, which is fossilized pine sap. They are safe, non-toxic, they give off no smell, and they also leave you no residue when you touch them with your hands. To understand the mechanism of action of amber against ticks and fleas, then we need to understand how ticks and fleas actually find their host animals, us or our animals. So ticks will actually hang out on the long stalks of grass and will actually wait for animals to go by so they can then grab onto their hair and climb onto their bodies. Fleas, on the other hand, can actually jump. So they can jump from the ground onto your dog or cat, or they can jump directly from an animal to another. So from a dog to another or from a cat to another. And it's exactly here where amber comes in. So amber has supposedly two mechanisms of action. The first one is it releases succinic acid, which is the acid that's contained within the amber beads themselves. And the other is that it creates friction when it rubs against your dog's or cat's fur, and it creates electrostatic charges. Now, both the succinic acid and the electrostatic charges seem to confuse arthropods when they are trying to figure out what is passing by, and they may get confused and think that that's actually not an animal, so they don't jump on. And it also works to repel them once they're on because they get, kind of dazed and they then choose to leave your dog or cat. I need to add that there have been no studies that have proven how amber works or whether it works, but the studies that were made could not rule out the fact that amber might have an effect. So when I decided to buy it for Iberia, I thought, why not? It's pretty. I like it. If it works, it's great. If it doesn't work, it still doesn't hurt. And the fact of the matter is, the majority of the people who actually use amber necklaces on their animals have reported either a decrease in the number of ticks and fleas or absolutely zero tick and fleas. And I have to report that that has been my experience. I haven't found any ticks or fleas on Iberia since I've been using the amber necklace. If you were planning on getting an amber necklace for your dog or cat, keep in mind that it's always best to put it on 2 to 3 weeks before tick and flea season starts, kind of to get a head start. When choosing to buy an amber necklace, you need to pay attention to the type of amber that you're buying and the quality. There's a little bit of a debate amongst experts as to whether you should get raw amber or you should get polished amber. They seem to say that polished amber doesn't release its acid so much and it doesn't create so much friction, so it kind of loses its potency. Amber does maintain its electrostatic or triboelectric effect, whether it's polished or not. So that shouldn't make a big difference. I do prefer to go with unpolished amber because unpolished amber or raw amber will have a more rough texture, and so it will have a bigger surface area, so it will have more area to release the succinic acid. So while I personally feel there's not a big difference between the two, I do prefer to go with raw unpolished amber because I feel like it was processed less, so there was less energy that was put into it, and I feel that it's a little bit more environmentally friendly. The next thing you're going to look at is quality, and you have to look at the quality of the amber and then quality of the necklace that you're getting. The quality of the amber actually really comes to whether it's real amber or not. There's two major types of amber. Baltic amber, which obviously comes from the Baltic Sea, and it's usually more than 40 million years old. And then you have Dominican amber, which comes from the Dominican Republic, and that one is between 20 and 40 million years old. When I bought Iberia's amber necklace, I really didn't care if it was Baltic or Dominican amber, as long as it was real amber. And there's actually a couple of tests that you can do if you're buying it online and you're not sure whether it's real amber or not. The first thing you can do is briefly heat it up with a flame, and you will see it slightly melt and give off that really pine resin scent that's really unmistakable. You'll smell it for just a second, but there'll be no doubt that it's real amber. You can also check whether your necklace will float or sink in a glass of salt water. Real amber contains a lot of microbubbles, so it will float. Now keep in mind that if your necklace has other pieces that are not amber and maybe metal pieces, those are heavy and may drag down your necklace. And you can also check if you can create static electricity by rubbing your necklace on a wool sweater, on your dog's fur, or even on your jeans. Personally, I wasn't able to get Iberia's necklace to pass this last test. but I did get it to pass the flame test and the saltwater test, so I'm very confident that I actually have a real amber necklace. Now, because we're actually using these on dogs, we actually want to see that the quality of the necklace itself is very good. And there's a couple of things you want to pay attention to. The first one is the class. So you can either have one like I have, which is metal, which is really nice if your dog goes in the water and gets wet all the time, because it's obviously not going to break, but it is going to break if your dog likes to play rough a little bit. So that's something to keep in mind. The other option is with a pretty leather clasp, which I actually really like. But again, if your dog goes in the water a lot, then the leather will dry and crack and your necklace will have a much shorter lifespan. You also want to look at the material of the string that holds the pieces of your necklace together. In my case, it's nylon. It's very good. Again, if Iberia goes in the water, this has been wonderful, but it may not hold up to really rough and tumble play that some dogs do. But the wonderful thing is that it will let go if they get stuck and they have to rip it off, which is actually a really great safety feature, especially if you have a cat, one of those cats that likes to go outside. So you're sure that they're not going to get choked or caught and not be able to get free because of the collar. And some people have also reported that the amber itself sometimes break and can flake off. Personally, it hasn't been my experience at all. I've had this necklace on Iberia every summer for the last 5 years, and it still looks as great as when I bought it. Another hot topic when it comes to amber necklaces is maintenance. I didn't even know that there might be something that you need to do for maintenance. Honestly, I've done nothing. I've just basically used it on Iberia all summer long, and then in the fall, at the end of fall, I would take it off, put it in a drawer, and put it back on at the beginning of spring. But I noticed that some manufacturers actually mention that you have to replace it every year because it gets polished and it might lose effectiveness. As I mentioned before, I don't believe that to be true, so the only thing I would say is to keep it fairly clean if your dog actually rolls in the mud, because you want to make sure to have the amber actually rub under fur. But other than that, I really don't think that you need to worry about any of that. Additionally, I felt like there was something that a manufacturer would say. Like, obviously, if my livelihood depended on me selling amber necklaces, I would tell you, hey, after a year, it's probably not going to work. You need to buy a new one. But, I'm here to tell you I've had no issues. It's been working really well, and I've never actually had to replace it. I've also heard of people asking whether the amber necklace needed to be charged. Now, if you believe in the use of stone and minerals for health, then you know that some of them need to be charged by putting them in the sun during the day and in the moonlight during the night. The reality is amber is not a rock. So if it's not a rock, then it doesn't need to be charged as a rock. And personally, I've never had to do anything on it. I'm always concerned that what I use on me and my animal is sustainable in the environment, so I was wondering whether amber is actually sustainable or not. There's currently 2 major manufacturers of amber necklaces that are based in Lithuania, and it seems like they have the monopoly on the system, and they will then sell their amber to smaller producers that will then open their own shops. I've also read a really troubling article, I'm going to link it for you below, and it talked about how dangerous it is to actually get amber out of the sea and how people feel pressure because of the black market to go and get it out, and how many people are actually losing their lives as they are doing this. So if this is something that you feel strongly about, then I urge you to go ahead and check it out for yourself and see how you feel before you purchase one. I also want you to keep in mind that amber is a fossil, so there's only a limited amount of amber that we can collect and utilize. Yeah. Yeah. So these are some of the things that I'm keeping in mind as I'm choosing what to do with Iberia's amber necklace. Obviously, I'm trying to go with a less processed version to put a little bit less stress on the environment. And I'm choosing not to replace it every year because it's only a limited resource. And I'm telling you, I haven't had any issues. It's been working really well, so I can only recommend it. So I mentioned at the beginning of the video that using an amber necklace is part of my natural multi-modal parasitic management plan. Oh, super long, huh? But basically that means that I have multimodal, so several ways of managing parasites for us, for the cats, and for Iberia. And amber is just one of them. So if you're interested in what else we use, then go ahead and check out our other video where we go into details on what we use and how you can use some of our thoughts to develop a plan that actually works for you, your animals, and exactly the environment you live in. Thank you for watching us today. Give your cats and your dogs a kiss from Iberia, Britannia, and I, and we'll see you in the next one.